PineScript has quite a lot of interesting functions already available to you, so I think it's important to know them and how they work because this will save you quite a lot of time, so you don't need to develop them from scratch, but you can use them as is. And in this video, let's go through technical analysis functions in PineScript. There are quite a lot of them, around 50. So let's briefly go through them and I will explain you like the most important functions and how they work. Let's start from the simplest functions from the technical analysis family, and I call them basic functions. So they're pretty simple and let's look at them. So the first function I listed here, it's a very simple function, but pretty useful. It's bar since function. So basically you can pass like a condition, and PineScript will output you how many bars passed from the last time this condition was true. So for example, if it's true for the current bar, it will output you a 0. So next function value when, it works pretty much the same way, but instead of like outputting you just number of bars that passed, you can get a value when this condition was true. So for example, here I'm searching for the last time close was above the open, and I want to get close for the last occurrence of this bar. So, and here as a third argument, you can pass a number of each occurrence do you want to get. So if you want the most recent one, you need to specify 0, and here I'm getting previous one by specifying 1. So next two functions are pretty simple as well. So these are just change functions, so you can just compute what the difference now in your variable for current bar and for bar 5 bars ago. So it's quite easy. And next function, rate of change, will output you this difference in percentage terms. So as you can see, it's quite easy. With the next few functions, you can check for different crosses. So for example, you have like a technical analysis cross function, and you can check if like two variables crossed. So like for previous bar, one was below another one, and if they flipped for the current bar, and you will receive like a true from this function. And next to function crossover is cross under. This is just basically two types of crosses. You can just separate them into two functions if you want. So with next two functions, you can check that your variable is falling or rising for a certain amount of bars. So here, for example, I check that my close is falling for 5 bars, or here my close is rising for 5 bars. With the next few functions, you can get different metrics for highest and lowest values. So with the, for example, with the highest function, you can get the highest like of your variable for the last x bars. So PineScript will look at the last 10 variables and will output you the highest value. And highest bars is similar functions, but it will output you amount of bars that passed from this high. And the opposite you will get with the lowest function and with the lowest bars function. And also you can find a pretty useful function range, so you can specify like a variable and also look back period, and PineScript will look at the lowest value, the highest value will output you the difference between lowest and highest values. So next let's look at a few statistical functions you have in technical analysis family. So first of all, you can calculate correlation between two variables in PineScript, and also you can specify the length you want to compute this correlation for. Also, you can compute like cumulative sum of a certain variable. So here, for example, I compute cumulative sum of my volumes. Also, you can compute like linear regression curve as well. So like it's a bit advanced function, just go to the documentation. I think you will understand it better. Also, you can compute like a kind of a rolling median, rolling mode. Also, you can compute a standard deviation for your variable, and also you can compute a variance. With the next two functions, you can compute percentile in PineScript. So you have percentile linear interpolation and percentile nearest rank. So will they compute you like a percentile using different methods. So you can specify your variable, lookback period, and percentage you want to get your percentile for, and PineScript will compute your percentile, so it's quite useful in certain cases. Also, you have a variable called percent rank, and you can specify your variable and lookback period, and for every new value, PineScript will look like your 100 bars back in my case, and will compute what is percentage rank for my current value. So it can be quite useful as well. Now let's look at other types of technical analysis functions you have in PineScript. Of course, you have quite a lot of moving averages. And as you can see here, I have the full list. So you have about 10 different moving averages. And if you were like really creating advanced indicators, sometimes it can be quite useful for you because you just have quite a lot of things available from the box. You don't need to code them. And here you have like pretty simple like moving averages. For example, you have like simple moving average, like exponential moving average, but you have quite advanced ones like ALMA moving average, whole moving average, and so on. Also here you have like a function that can be quite useful as well. It's called ta.dev function, and it will compute you like a distance between your moving average and current value of your variable. So it can be quite useful as well. Take a look at this list. I think you definitely will find something useful for you. Also in PineScript you have access to a few functions that computes different types of indices. So here, for example, I have commodity channel index, directional movement index, money flow index, relative stretch index, and true stretch index as well. So it can be quite useful as well. You can compute it with just only one call. You don't need to code them, so it's quite useful. And also be careful, like some of this function I show it to you, they actually outputs like multiple variables, so check documentation for it. So for example, my directional movement index outputs 3 variables, so this is why I have to create a tuple, and only after that I can assign result of my function to my tuple. So just know that. In addition to everything I showed you already, PineScript has few more functions, so let's quickly go through them. So first of all, you can compute Bollinger Bands in just one line basically, and also it outputs you like a tuple, so it like at once computes you like the middle, upper, and lower band for Bollinger Bands. And here you also can change parameter for Bollinger Band, so it's quite useful. There is a separate function that computes a Bollinger Band width, so you can see that it's BBW function, and it will put you distance between your upper and lower bands. And you have like the same functions for Keltner channels as well, so you just can call it in one function, and it will compute you middle, upper, and lower bands like quite nicely. And also the same as for Bollinger Bands, you have a function that computes Keltner channel width as well. Also, you have, of course, a MACD function that outputs you like a MACD line, signal line, and hist line, and in just one call. Quite useful as well. You have like super trend already coded for you. You can just specify your parameters for your super trend, and PineScript will compute you super trend value and direction as well. So quite useful. Also, you have like few more functions here that can be quite useful. So for example, you can compute average to range. You can specify just the length for it, and it will compute you like that. Also, you have Shandel momentum oscillator, center of gravity, momentum. You have two functions that will compute you pivot highs and pivot lows. It's quite useful as well. I use them quite a lot in my coding. Also, you have a parabolic SAR coded as well. You can just call one function to compute it for you. Just specify like initial parameters, and it will compute it nicely. Also, you can compute stochastic as well, and Williams indicator as well. So as you can see, PineScript has to offer quite a lot of nice functions, and I advise you to go through them just to have in your mind that what is available to you, so you don't waste your time on coding something that already created for you.